Now, there is no doubt about it that right now, both Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Company, they are panicking over the current status of the Fantastic Four First Steps box office metrics. When you're looking at the global numbers right now, it really does scream desperation when it comes to Disney, when it comes to Marvel, because of how much they're trying to spin the overall margins available for the box office results. They're trying to label this as a wild success for Marvel Studios, when in reality, behind the scenes, internally over at both Marvel and Disney, they are actually viewing this as a financial failure based on how much the budget was, how much the marketing campaign was, how much they invested into the press tour, along with the fact that you have to remember that the movie theater chains, right, the theaters themselves, they take a very rough cut from the gains that they actually make on this movie. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, we all know that Pedro Pascal, alright, was one of the many factors that actually led to this movie, causing a lot of those to stay at home, to not give this movie a chance in the theater, to really just wait for it to either arrive on Disney Plus, or for Marvel fans to really just call it quits with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's a lot of reasons out there, but Pedro really didn't help at all. In fact, his politics, his overall political talking points, only made matters worse when it came to the overall press tour for the Fantastic Four. Now, what's even worse is the fact that now we have fans of Pedro Pascal leaving in droves. Millions of fans calling it quits for Pedro Pascal. There's a lot of Pascal fatigue going on right now as we speak, and Pedro is actually losing it. He's really beginning to go out of control after realizing that people that were once fans of his are no longer fans of his. Now, with the Fantastic Four box office metrics now sitting at $469 million worldwide, and causing those like Bob Iger, Pedro Pascal, and Kevin Feige to double down on damage control and creating political talking points, one major development now involves Pedro lashing out at Marvel fans again after losing millions of fans based on his political comments and blaming MAGA for why Fantastic Four failed at the box office, even blaming MAGA for why he's losing fans now. Pedro recently delivered the following: "As an actor, I think people's criticism toward me are driven by those that are just far too narrow-minded and naive, and how I will admit I did lose support from those that enjoy my work, but that support was lost for all the wrong reasons. The people that decided it wasn't time anymore to support my work as an actor mainly came from Trump supporters, and there is no question about that, because when they see my political stance, when they witness my passion for politics and standing up for my country, and what America should be all about, they lose all control. I think I am misunderstood as a person. I have anxiety. I have tremendous anxiety. And it's not just for myself, but it's also for this entire country and where it's going for the next 3.5 years and potentially even more than that. However, but for people to walk away from me based on my politics is, like I said, those that are very naive and narrow-minded in nature. It comes from a simple-minded mindset for one to give up on someone's work because of their politics. All I'm stating is the truth, that we are being ruled by a dictator at work here. That is Donald Trump. And when I was working on Fantastic Four, I and even Kevin Feige saw this coming, that these hardcore Trumpers would call this film woke or driven by an agenda or all of that nonsense that is pure fiction. I think the celebratory trend right now is how people ridicule actors and those that come from this industry for displaying their politics. Trumpers just want actors like myself to lose and not to win, and that, my friends, is a loser mentality and not a winner mentality. And it's not so surprising coming from the right after all. Whether they like it or not, Fantastic Four is indeed a wild success by the wonderful creators over at Marvel Studios. We may have not hit the margins that we wanted to, but that does not translate to it being a failure by any means, as the narrative is being pushed out there by MAGA. Now guys, let me just stop there for one moment about Pedro. The man just doesn't get it. The man doesn't stop, and he will never stop. Now, the fact that he once blamed MAGA for why, or Trump supporters as to why this movie failed, and really was indeed labeled as a box office disaster, the fact that he went that far is one thing. The fact that he's now blaming Trump supporters for calling it quits with himself as an actor and how there are millions of people walking away from Pedro as we speak, that also is very alarming. You know, when you're looking at Pedro Pascal, it goes to show you the fact that Marvel is sticking with this guy, they're sticking with their support of Pedro Pascal, is truly despicable. I mean, I don't know why Bob Iger, Kevin Feige are allowing such kind of behavior when it comes to promoting a movie like the Fantastic Four, even as it's beginning to exit theaters as we speak. We know that some movie theater chains are beginning to call it quits with this movie. They're just letting it go, and that really is another major sign, another major red flag, that this movie just did not perform as well as it should have, especially for a movie, by the way, that's kicking off this new phase of the MCU and setting up Spider-Man Brand New Day, Avengers Doomsday, and among other films out there and television programs, etc. But overall, Pedro Pascal, this is exactly why people are beginning to actually loathe the guy, right? Because he's so caught up within himself. He's so caught up with his own politics. He forces his own politics. He says things like how Trump's a dictator this and Trump's a dictator that. Nobody wants to hear it anymore. People are exhausted about it. It's 2025 now. People do not want to actually hear politics coming from actors, let alone being forced their politics and being told what to do or told what to believe in. That's exactly why people are tired of Pedro Pascal. And it's not the only reason, by the way. I think that this guy is just cast in every single thing out there for the wrong reasons, and people are just tired of seeing his face, quite frankly. Moving on, he goes on to conclude, I think I'm at a place right now where I have to deal with the fact that there are many of those out there that just don't have a level head on their shoulders, which is causing them to leave over my politics and my political beliefs. It's unfortunate that this is what our country has turned to when you have Marvel fans, especially acting this way toward a film called The Fantastic Four. None of the criticism or moviegoers staying at home had anything to do with me. It all had to do with MAGA setting up this narrative that people like me, actors like me, are the bad guys in this country. And that is so far from the truth. It is so far from the truth. So again, I mean, Pedro Pascal, alright, between him going on his political rants, saying cringeworthy things with the whole daddy nonsense that he talked about. I don't know if you guys saw that. He kept saying how Tony Stark's a daddy, Dr. Doom's a daddy, I'm a daddy. It was just so very weird and just out of place when you're promoting a movie like The Fantastic Four that people just said, you know what, let me just call it quits with Marvel for now. If anything, let's just wait for it to arrive on Disney Plus at the bare minimum. And that's exactly why the MCU is a damaged brand right now, is that people are just over it. People are just over these actors, you know, acting this way, and Pedro is the epitome of that, right? He is like Rachel Zegler 2.0, if not worse than Rachel Zegler. In fact, it's why a lot of people, including myself, call the guy Pedro Zegler, because he literally acts like her. And people are just tired of it. People are shifting away from that overall narrative. But overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. And I will catch you guys later.